Joining me now, excited to do this. It's Jazz Media Day. He's from The Athletic. He's a good friend of the show. He is Tony Jones, joining the drive right now. Tony, what's up, buddy?
Listen, I just want to let you know that I took your car, okay? I drove it. I bought it back with gas, and I parked it back safely in the garage on Friday.
Okay, all right, because, look, I was just talking to Brady about this. I didn't have a chance to listen. I was with my son. I was out of town. I was out of pocket. I wasn't really checking social media, text messages, and all that. So what you're telling me is you handled the space accordingly, yeah?
Look, I gave perfect analysis for the Washington State game.
Okay.
Like I said, basically on the show, I said if Utah can get above the first 5 plays of every drive, Washington State will play defense hard for the first 5 plays of every drive. If you get beyond those first 5 plays, you'll get whatever you want against that defense. And was I right or was I right?
Okay, all right. Like I said, I just didn't have a chance to listen, but
I'm real defensive right now, Spence. I feel like I'm just under scrutiny right now from you.
Wait, from me?
Yes, I feel micromanaged.
Can you tell me why you feel that way?
I mean, there was the text that you sent on Friday that said, "Don't mess it up." You know what I mean? That's been resonating in my mind all weekend.
I believe I said, "Don't F it up," Tony.
See, I didn't want to say that because I knew we were on a family show.
That's all right.
But see, like the backup co-host can't say "Don't F it up," but the host can say "Don't F it up."
Well, I just
so
wanted.
I feel micromanaged. I feel put upon.
But I just wanted to make sure that you knew that this, you were filling in for an extra special space. This isn't what you're accustomed to. This is afternoon drive. It's 4 hours. I just wanted to make sure that you knew the drill, bro. That's all.
Listen, I had my rock star. I was ready.
Okay. Now I did hear that the bumper to introduce or to come in during the first segment was like Alabama Shakes or whatever. It was some country tune. Is this true?
Well, Brett, he's from Payson.
Yeah, but you're the host, man. I blame that on you. I'm not blaming my boy. I blame that on you, Tony.
Oh, okay. So it's like when my daughter comes in and she has company and the house is messed up. We don't blame the company. We blame my daughter.
No, I would blame you. You're in charge. That's what I'm saying. Right. As the host, I blame you.
Okay, that's fair. That's why it was nothing but Tribe and Nas all the way through.
All right. Because he also
for the rest of the show,
and he did say that you were educating him a little bit on classic hip hop, and for the most part, I think your hip hop takes are pretty good. So I just want to make sure you're not leading my guy down a bad path.
Listen, I would never lead anybody down a bad path when it comes to hip hop because Mobb Deep is the 5th or 4th best group ever in hip-hop history.
Okay. All right. Well, we're off and running. So for 4 hours, you're saying you held it down. You did a good job.
I did a great job.
Love it.
I did a fantastic job. I got a whole bunch of text messages. Well, one to be exact. But, you know what I mean.
Did you get a text message from somebody I know, or was it just some random person?
No, it was from my family member. It was like, Tony, you're doing a good job.
Look, buddy, if your family starts turning on you, then you know you're in trouble. I mean, even my mom thinks I'm good on the radio, so that's how it goes.
Well, exactly. I mean, listen, like the family members, those are the ones that are supposed to – they're supposed to compliment you no matter what, no matter how it sounds.
No doubt. Well, look, I'm sure you did a good job, and when I heard it was you filling in, I was excited for it, so I'm glad you held it down. And let's get into it, man. It's Jazz Media Day. It's an exciting time of year. First practice is tomorrow. So before we get into specifics, I mean, you were down there today. Was there any one thing that really stood out to you, something you want to start the interview with?
Yeah, you know what stood out to me was the urgency of it all. And I wrote about that in my story today at The Athletic. Check me out at theathletic.com. Shameless plug. But just urgency. Like, Mike Conley is 31 years old. Joe Ingles is 31 years old. Bojan Bogdanovic is 30 years old. Jeff Green is in his 30s. Ed Davis is either approaching his 30s or just 30. You know, these are veterans who have all been around the block a long time. They've all been on playoff runs. Mike Conley's been to a Western Conference final. Jeff Green has been to an NBA Finals. These are guys who know how to win, but who haven't won at the ultimate level. And you know, those guys want to win. Like, those are, you know, you're 30-something, you're at the edge of your prime, like you're still in your prime, but you're not going to be in your prime much longer. And I'm sorry, I have the hiccups, but and there's a window to win, and that window's only going to stay open for maybe one or 2 years. So there was a real sense of urgency at media day today, and I think that's one of the moods that I kind of took note of.
Bro, I'm going to be playing the sound of you hiccuping on air on a loop, man. You got to know that, right?
Yeah.
Brady, I need you to cut this up because this is going to be our show tease for the next few months. Tony with the hiccups on air, man. You got to know. You know better by now, Tony. Come on, man.
Listen, I'm very resilient. I can go through the hiccups. So it's like playing through an ankle injury.
Love it.
That's all it is.
Okay, and speaking of which, I mean, I appreciate you hosting my show on Friday, but how did you respond to the widespread criticism that you faced after tapping out of Jazz training camp, media training camp?
I did not want to tap out, but listen, me and Bill Riley and me and ESPN 700, we have had a working relationship for 3 years now. This is our third year together, and I am very, very happy to be a part of this family as a Jazz insider. So I had to be there when my brother needed me. I had to be there in the trenches when my family needed me. So when Bill said, "Hey, I have nobody else. Nobody else wants to do the show. I've asked 17 people." I was like, "No, I will do it. I will do the show. I will sacrifice my Friday, and I will sacrifice media training camp to be there for you to do the show."
Well, and that says a lot about you because I think people are intimidated to come to the space, Tony, and you're not afraid. So I appreciate that.
Hey, listen, but the thing is, I think they were intimidated by you and your footsteps and your shadow.
Oh, it's like that?
And me and Steve, we were just like, okay, it's going to be huge footsteps to fill, huge shoes to fill. We're going to do our best to do our duty to be there for Spence Check-ins.
And I appreciate that. No, that says a lot about you. But I saw some of the feedback on Twitter that people thought you were dodging them during Jazz Media Day. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, there was some of that sentiment there, and there was some of the sentiment spilled into Monday. I almost came to blows with Andy Larson. Because he accused me of dodging. Danny Franks, the fine media relations manager for the Jazz. He accused me of dodging. Derek Garduno. Everybody accused me of dodging and just kind of tapping out. And I just want to let you know that it wasn't that. I just had to be there for my family when they were in need.
And we appreciate it. Do you think Andy Larson has ever been in a fight? You think he's ever been punched in the face?
He has never been in a fight, but he has certainly been in a kerfuffle.
Yes. Yes. Good call.
Yes, absolutely. He's definitely been in a kerfuffle before.
No, I can see that. All right. So, did anybody look differently? And by that, I know that sounds weird, but there have been so many media days, whether it's here or across the country, where I've shown up. I'm like, oh man, he got a little loose with the fried foods. He got a little loose with the Taco Bell. He was eating way too much. Maybe getting a little loose with the rum smoothies. I mean, the Jazz do a good job of making sure their guys are in shape. But how did the crew look to you today?
Yeah, everybody was in shape. That part was evident. Dante Exum, he looks jacked. Like he spent all summer in the weight room. There was a little bit of that sentiment at Summer League when we saw him, but watching him today, like you should see him. He looks like a different person than the kid that was drafted by the Jazz in 2014. So it'll be interesting to see what his role is. I expect him to. I think he's going to play the 1, the 2, and the 3 this year, and I think he's going to play off the ball a lot this year as opposed to playing the point. I thought Emmanuel Mudiay, when the Jazz signed him, I thought that he was going to be signed to be the third point guard, but now I think he's going to be the primary backup, and I think he's going to be a real part of that second unit. So it'll be interesting to see how that all comes together. But everybody looked to be in terrific shape physically, and Dante Exum really stood out because he's cut and shredded, kind of beyond where he's been in his first in his first 4 years with the Jazz, first 4 or 5 years with the Jazz.
Tony Jones is with us from The Athletic, good friend of the program, talking some Jazz hoops, some NBA hoops. Tony, this is going to sound strange. I'm not trying to rain on anyone's parade, but if this – because everybody expects them to be really good. I think the Jazz are going to be good. I mean, but when you look at Vegas, they're 7th as far as if you're going to put your money on an NBA title, the Jazz are the 7th favorite. There are 6 teams that people that do this for a living believe have a better chance of winning the title than the Jazz. So as much as we all like what's going on, as much as the excitement of the city is certainly something that's palpable and tangible. If this thing goes wrong, Tony, why in your mind would it go wrong? What are the pitfalls that Quinn has to avoid?
Well, like I happen to think that if they're healthy, even if they're not playing well, they're going to win 50 games. Because I just think there's too much talent on hand for them to truly be bad. I think if this team wins 45 games or less, then that means there was a major injury somewhere. I think the one injury that they can't really sustain is Rudy Gobert. And that's the safety net that was Derek Favors, because in previous years, Rudy Gobert goes down for 20 games. Well, guess what? You have 18 and 10, 18 and 11 backing him up. And that's not there anymore. So, the Jazz really need to keep Rudy healthy. They really need to keep Mike Conley healthy. But, I think on the floor, maybe if the defense kind of falls off a cliff, and I just don't see how that's going to happen if Rudy's healthy, maybe you can see it. The first 25 games are pretty tough. Maybe they have to dig themselves out of a hole. Maybe there's just not enough basketballs to go around, a la the Boston Celtics last year. But see, the Boston Celtics, they didn't have enough basketballs to go around because Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum were second-year players, and they were like, okay, I'm not sharing the ball with Kyrie Irving. I'm not sharing the ball with Kyrie Irving and Gordon Hayward. This is a different dynamic. These guys, Bogdanovich, Conley, these guys are all on different spots of their career. They're 30 now, so, shots and touches and usage, that's not as prevalent to them now as it was as it would have been last year to Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown. So I don't see that to really be a problem. Chemistry on the floor to really be a problem either. I think the only thing that can really truly derail this team is a major injury to Rudy Gobert. Even if Mike Conley gets hurt, even if Donovan Mitchell gets hurt or Joe Ingles or Bogdanovich, you can still make up for that with depth and with other scoring. But if Rudy gets hurt, I don't see a pathway to them really making that up, and that's where you miss Derek Favors the most.
All right, this is a topic of conversation that I feel like has been around for more than just a minute, and I have my own take on what I think it should look like, but curious to see, Tony, what you think on opening night when we're down there and we see the starting 5 for the first time. What do you think that unit's going to look like?
I think you're looking at 6 guys vying for 5 spots. You're going to have Conley at the 1, you're going to have Mitchell at the 2, you're going to have Bogdanovich at the 3. You're either going to have Joe Ingles or Royce O'Neal at the 4, and you're going to have Rudy at the 5. So do you want me to pick between Joe and Royce?
Yeah. Who do you think it's going to be?
I'm gonna go out on a limb right now, and I'm gonna say it's going to be Royce.
Oh wow! Okay.
Because I think that Joe Ingles is somebody that's gonna, whether he starts or whether he comes off the bench, he's gonna play the same 28 minutes. Whether he starts or whether he comes off the bench, he's gonna close games. Royce O'Neal, I think, fits with the starters because that starting group needs a premier perimeter defender, and he is that. And that starting group also needs a 3-and-D guy because if you look at that starting group, Mike Conley, Donovan Mitchell, and Bojan Bogdanovich are all ball-in-hand guys. So it makes sense to bring Joe off the bench because he's more of a ball-in-hand guy, and you could bring him off the bench and get him his requisite touches. And Royce O'Neal doesn't need touches. He'll spot up in the corner and shoot 35 to 38% from 3, and you can switch him you could switch him one through four positions on defense, and he's your premier wing perimeter defender. So I'm going to say, for those reasons, I'm going to say that on opening night. Now I could be wrong, but I'm going to guess that on opening night, Royce O'Neal is your fifth starter.
Interesting. We're going to have to tweet that out and see if Andy Larson takes the bait and then goes back at you for a take, and then watch you guys fight.
He's been going at me a lot on Twitter lately.
I know, man. I've been seeing it. What's going on there?
Like, I just listen. This thing is like a sibling rivalry right now.
Okay.
At this point, like, the Isaiah Thomas, the John Stockton Isaiah Thomas tweet that he sent at me a couple nights ago, that was uncalled for.
Now tell me what he sent, because I believe he deleted that tweet.
So he somebody said to me, James Harden's going to be better than Kobe when it's all said and done. And I tweeted back, I said, James Harden can never catch Kobe, because Kobe's defense is so much better than James's defense that it's a gap that James will never be able to make up. And Andy tweeted at me, I agree with this take. That's why I have John Stockton over Isaiah Thomas, because he was a 5-time all-defense guy, and Isaiah Thomas, it was a no-time all-defense guy. Mm-hmm. And what Andy doesn't realize is that Isaiah Thomas was a heck of a defender. Like, I'm not sure where he gets this thing that, Isaiah Thomas didn't defend. Isaiah Thomas was a pack rat defensively. What do you think? What are your thoughts on that?
So I think Isaiah. I'll tell you this: Isaiah doesn't have the stats that John did, but Isaiah played for a team that was historically great defensively. I don't think I'm somewhere in between the two of you. I don't think Isaiah was a great defender, but I think it's part of his game that was often overlooked. And I mean, if you didn't guard, you couldn't play for Chuck Daly. First of all, I mean, we can start right there. And those teams, those bad boy teams in the 80s, they were historically great defensively. I do think, on the whole, John gets the nod over Isaiah when it comes to the defensive side. But that's not the take, Tony, that I think I'm kind of struggling with. You said something along the lines of that Steph Curry doesn't do anything better than Isaiah Thomas. Is that true?
No, I didn't say that.
Okay, what'd you say?
Steph Curry does not have a skill set that Isaiah did not have. And that's completely true.
So complete skill set, not isolating one.
I said there was not one skill set that Steph possessed that Isaiah did not possess.
So, but you don't think Isaiah was a better shooter than Steph? You don't think that?
No, I don't think he was a better shooter than Steph. No.
Okay.
Never said that. But you know how Twitter is.
Right,
Twitter will take what you say, and then they'll twist it any which way they want to say.
Right. So for everybody out there that's following the beef, you and Andy are good.
I will say this. I think Isaiah Thomas was a better all-around player than Steph is.
Yeah, and I think that's probably where you lose me a little bit. And I don't think the gap is as big as people that maybe are younger that don't remember who Isaiah was. I mean, look, I saw Isaiah play in person plenty of times, and I saw some historically great accomplishments, and I have respect for him as a player. But I think I would side with Steph over Isaiah, Tony. But I don't think the gap is as big as everybody who's attacking you on Twitter. I will concede that.
Well, spreadsheet Twitter wants to attack me. Spreadsheet Twitter is going to attack me. That's just what they do.
Right.
You know what I mean? A lot of guys, they just look at Vorp and they say, oh, you know what? There's no way this guy could be better than that guy. But I'll tell you like this. Isaiah had a level offensively that no other point guard his size could ever reach. Like, Steph couldn't go into the Forum in 1988 and sprain his ankle, basically break his ankle, and then drop 47 points on Michael Cooper. He didn't possess that. Isaiah did. 25
in the fourth. And I saw it. I know what you're talking about. But I do think there's a level that Steph has offensively that's pretty much unmatched. I mean, MVPs and everything else. But look, the point is this. Analytical folk are married to this Steph thing, and I get it in a lot of ways. But I think a lot of the people that you're arguing with, Tony, never saw Isaiah play. They probably don't remember what it was like.
That part is true, which is why I'm just not. That part is true, which is why I just kind of ignore it.
But you and Andy, there's no real beef there. You guys are good.
Man, I love Andy.
Okay.
I love Andy like a brother. That's my guy.
Okay, good.
But he's going to go at me because he represents Vorp Twitter and I represent iTest Twitter.
Mm-hmm.
So, I put something out on Twitter yesterday that, listen, Vorp Twitter and iTest Twitter, we all need to come to an understanding that we are never going to agree with each other.
Sure.
And that we need to stop personally insulting each other for having different viewpoints on the game of basketball.
And I agree with that.
Because even with me, I test Twitter. Numbers have their place. Like, analytics has its place in the game. Okay? My disagreement with analytics is you can't make it the end-all, be-all, and too many people make it the end-all, be-all.
Yeah.
But too many people on I test Twitter make I test the end all be all, and I've been guilty of that. So I have to open myself up and open my horizons up and come to a median. And I think that if Warp Twitter and I test Twitter does that, then Twitter can be a much better place to be.
And I completely agree, man. And I'm in between both of you. I'm not as married to the numbers as Andy is, but I appreciate and understand their place. And look, I've been around this game since I was a baby, so I trust. Usually what I do is I'll watch, I'll make an assertion, and I trust my eyes so much that even when I go to the numbers, they usually back up what I see. But I understand the place on both sides. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean, and you look, analytics has helped make me a better writer.
Yeah.
I mean, because it teaches you to look at stuff. Like, it's I'll give you the perfect example. Analytics has helped me realize how good a player Rudy Gobert is.
Sure. Good example. Yep.
You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Because if you look at the stats, his stats don't jump out at you as much as a Joel Embiid does, right? But I think he's almost as good a player as Joel. Like I would give Embiid I would give Joel Embiid the nod over Rudy Gobert overall, but it's very close to me.
Sure. All right,
you know
brother.
What I mean?
Yeah, no, absolutely.
That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think there's plenty of validity there. But look, you know as well as I do, social media, the internet is where cowards go to feel brave. So don't feed them, man. Don't feed them. Just do your thing, all right?
Yes, sir.
Okay, buddy. We'll chat soon. Be good.